Welcome to Nature Backed Corner.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Tell us in a few words, what is Just Vertical?
At Just Vertical, we build indoor vertical farms around the world to grow food for people in places where usually they can't do it.
It's Is it something unique? I mean, I've heard about the vertical farming for quite a while, and I've always thought that the big glass greenhouses often have more than one layer. What's special about?
Yeah, with our approach, there's two things. Is our commercial farms that we build is we've really built them for people in two ways. One, super easy to work in. So just like you described, typically you hear about those big stacked greenhouses. If you've ever worked in one, you're crouching down, you're reaching across. With our system, you don't need to do that because it's truly vertical. So it's easy to work in, which is both great for the worker, but also leads to more productivity. And then the second thing, it's just the yield per square foot and the cost to do it is much lower with our product, and that's because we actually built it from the ground up. So we're not kind of cobbling together parts or buying them from resellers. We're the actual manufacturer, so we can build farms that are more productive and also easier to work in for the farmer.
Just for the kind of understanding the scale, how many farms have you built, or how many greenhouses?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We actually started as a consumer-based company selling our consumer indoor gardens, which is like a piece of furniture that goes into your home. So we've got a few thousand people growing with those around the world, and then on the commercial side, which we launched about 2 years ago, we just crossed over about 350,000 plants being grown in our farms, everywhere from like Moldova in Eastern Europe, where we just launched a farm, to Canada, the U.S., Alaska, the high Arctic.
They have greenhouses in Alaska. I'm not familiar with the geography of the North America, but my understanding was it's a relatively cold place.
Yes, yeah, it's very cold, and that's we're a Canadian company. I'm Canadian. Most of the country is just cold, so uh, what happens is you go to these communities, and the price of fresh food is $20-$25 for a head of lettuce. So it changes the economics of growing and really drives home the need for it as well. So that's where there's kind of a special need up there for a
Mm,
custom product like ours that works well.
exactly. How did you get into this? I mean, you've been always passionate about farming or growing up in a farm, or what's the kind of the background story?
Yeah, so I was always passionate on the sustainability side, and I growing up, I did work on a small scale organic farm where everything had to be done by hand. So I kind of saw firsthand the extreme regenerative sustainable agriculture approach. Then I went to school for environmental science. I thought I was going to go into environmental law. Worked in that field for a little bit. Saw unfortunately how slow it often moves at the international level, and said, okay, if I want to make a real impact, I'm gonna need to do something more hands on. And uh, met my co-founder while I was doing my master's of science in sustainability, and I had the opportunity. I actually worked at one of the big ag companies. Saw a lot of the lashback there against the modern agricultural system, and my co-founder was working in the Arctic, growing food in greenhouses in these remote communities. He's like, what? The technology exists to grow food anywhere in the world, from downtown to the Arctic. Just no one's leveraged it properly yet. And that was our idea: was okay, how can we tackle food insecurity with this really cool cutting edge science around vertical farming? And it was a way for me to get hands on and directly tackle certain facets of the sustainability challenge around food.
Mhm. You kind of talked a little bit about the kind of what's different, or more from the impact side. But what do you actually do differently? Is it I don't know, different materials, no soil, um, different hydration, or what's the trick there?
Yes, yeah. So it's all hydroponics based. There's no soil in the system. You just use a substrate to start your seeds in, and then it's a fully controlled environment. So we'll control exactly the nutrients going in, the temperature, the amount of light. So with that, we've got, they're just plant recipes where we can maximize the biological parameters of the plant. So lettuce, for example, can actually photosynthesize up to 18 hours a day often. So we can run the lights 18 hours a day, which, you're based in a northern climate, you would know we're not getting 18 hours of light for a good portion of the year there, if ever. So we can take what the plant's most naturally able to do and maximize that. So the light combined with the watering, we water it usually for about a minute every 30 minutes. So we like to say for these plants, it's always a sunny day, always a rainy day. So they end up growing about 2 weeks faster than outdoors while using no pesticides and 95 to 99% less water than traditional agriculture.
Mm. What do the how do you call those people who are true believers of organic growing of the vegetables? What do they think of such approach?
Yeah, there's definitely some hesitancy among. You see it a lot. I talk a lot with people in the permaculture community and the regenerative agriculture community. In part because that's where I came from. In part because it's a strong movement, and there's hesitancy because of some very valid reasons. Is if you're replacing the sun, there's energy costs there. Second is just it's a scale issue in that I think a lot of the massive indoor farms have tried to replace farming. And as somebody from a farming background, that's never going to happen. I always say indoor agriculture, it's got to be complementary to the existing agricultural system. And then the second thing is it doesn't make sense in every geography. Like I like to say, your indoor farm one is only as clean as your energy grid. So, where I am in Ontario, we've got a very clean energy grid. It's mainly water, hydro. But if you were to stick this on a coal powered grid right next to an existing farm on prime farmland, like, no, this is not going to make sense from a sustainability perspective. But we talked about Alaska or the far north, where the alternative to growing it on site is you're flying it in, you're trucking it in. Then the math starts to even out. But the big thing I like to highlight to them is, to feed the planet, like we do need a diversity of solutions, and this is just one tool in the tool belt here. And if you've ever been on a farm, there are some great farmers who take great care of their land and others who, don't do a great job. And same thing in indoor farming is it does come down to the farmer and the farming practices. And, there's a few standout things in indoor farming that they do way better than any farmer I've ever met outdoors that, I'm
Mm.
happy to crack open, but it's not going to replace traditional farming by any
Mm.
means.
The just vertical approach, is it definitely limited to indoor farming? Can't you do it outdoors?
Yeah, so we take our technology and we do it outdoors on occasion. So there's a lot of four seasons climates where we'll do these in greenhouses. So uh, there's a great project we did just actually local to us where they've got geodesic domes, which they're kind of the round domes. They look like igloos if you've seen them. They're meant to grow late into the winter season, and we actually took our technology and put it in there with no lighting, and it's thriving there. It's growing well, and it's only doesn't grow for about a month or two of the year when we're talking -25, -30 outside. But the technology definitely has adaptations for outdoors and for traditional greenhouse use as well. It's just our niche, our specialties on the indoor side.
Would you say Just Vertical is a startup?
I'd say so. We've definitely got the startup mentality, and we followed the traditional startup path. Like we've raised funding from venture capitalists, angel investors a few times. We've been through our own rounds of incubators and done all the conferences and the fun stuff that goes along with it. So we definitely try and keep that startup mindset, and uh, it comes on the path of taking venture capital money is there's also the eye to the exit eventually, right?
Mm.
And planning for that.
Exactly. Exactly.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
What's the kind of typical response to VC investors when you discuss with them about the challenges of vertical farming? Are they I don't know, fall to sleep on their chairs, or are they actually passionate these days about the solutions to farming sector?
There's passion around the solutions. I think the challenge that we've seen is there's been some companies that have raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone bust. And I think the core problem that was there was they were presenting indoor farming and vertical farming as a tech company that can almost get software level returns. Like, I think there was a lot of selling of this nirvana dream of it'll be robots running a warehouse that'll have next to no impact. And it'll be super easy to do and there'll be no problems. And it's like,
And they will
no,
cost
this is still
nothing, and the
farming.
margin will be 100+%, right?
Exactly, right? You see the hockey stick graph going up, we're going to reach infinite food here. It's going to be perfect. But farming's still farming no matter how you spin it. It's hard work. You got to put the labor in, you got to put the work in. And, you can get a decent margin. There are some farmers who do quite well, but it's not tech, it's not software level returns.
Of course.
So I think there was too much of that tech approach that led to outsized expectations and trying to scale too quickly. So there's some hesitancy there, but I think we're one of the few companies in the space that can point to here are the farms we built that are running well, they're profitable, they're making money, and we're kind of getting better in each iteration of farm we put together. But it's incremental gains over and over again that get us there.
I think the sector has been kind of seen a wider move towards the commercial approach. The only company from the sector I know, being based in Estonia relatively well, is Click and Grow, which
Yes.
10 years ago ran some successful Kickstarter campaigns, taking their devices to consumers around the world. I think I borrowed mine to a friend who I have to ask it back from, but now that I'm thinking about it. But and I think they also kind of took their strategy towards the more commercial and bigger kind of solutions. My question is there also a kind of separate consumer market with indoor
Yes.
farming? Is it something which is thriving? Is it something which, with people's know-how about the climate problems, is it growing, or it's a good word,
It's so
growing, in talking about this topic, of course.
yeah, it's definitely, I'd say it's stable and it's growing, but it's not, doubling every year or growing by 50%. And, Click and Grow is, I would say, probably the most successful company currently on the consumer side. It was them, and then there was another company, Arrow Garden, that they both are about, 10, 15 years old as companies. Arrow Garden actually got acquired and recently was shut down. A lot of the consumer indoor growing, it did very well through COVID, which makes sense, right? We were all
Yeah, of
concerned
course, of
about where our
course.
food was coming from and had nowhere to spend our money. And we run a consumer line of our business, and we see stable growth there. The challenge we've seen for the Click and Grow and Arrow Garden is now that it's caught on and it's a bit of a stable market, there's a lot of countertop products that have just flooded the market in terms of they're coming direct from manufacturers, often, based in China, where you just can't beat that margin, where they're selling these for half the price. So I think click and grow
Half
was
a price is probably relatively kind of optimistic. It could be 10% of the price or 15% of the price.
exactly right. They're not supporting any overhead, no R&D, right? They're just kind of taking it and pushing it through these channels.
Yeah.
So I think, Click and Grow and AeroGrid, they definitely had their moment. There's still people who buy it. Like, I remember seeing it at major retailers here, like the big box stores here in Canada. Uh, I think that market's going to continue to grow. There needs to be some innovation, and that's where, our product's a little more upmarket on the consumer side. We've really built it into a piece of furniture. So we've got a bit more of a moat and a barrier there, but that's why we pivoted to the commercial side as well. Is like, we know very well that even though our consumer may do well now, it's the reality of consumer products. Is it that market is a bloodbath? It's really hard to stay competitive for a decade plus on one product line.
Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
Experience a progressive lens engineered with AI from Essilor, powered by individual measurements of your visual behavior. A lens personalized to you by an Essilor expert. Discover Verilux XR Track and enjoy instantly sharp vision in motion and seamless transitions from near to far. Find your local Essilor expert today at Essilor.com.
The looking ahead, what's the 2025 looking? How's the harvesting season looking for Just Vertical, or how should I ask?
Yeah. So it's chaotic, but we're finding hopefully some peace in the chaos. For the European audiences listening, right, if anyone's not following the news, the U.S. announced a 25% tariff on Canada this morning. So as well as on Mexico. And if you take a walk through a grocery store in Canada or the US or Mexico, there's a lot of food that moves over our borders. So realistically, if these stay in place, we're looking at a 25% plus jump in the price of a lot of fresh food overnight, which I think is going to drive demand for products like ours, just to build resiliency in local supply chains. In Canada, in the US. I mean, it's been a big unifying moment for Canada, where there's hesitancy now to do business in the US. But we're really here, I know, within our country, really looking at how can we take these things that traditionally we would import and grow them at home, just so that we don't run into a problem where our people are facing triple the price on the cost of fresh food when it's already too expensive.
Exactly. I mean, I can definitely see the potential upside there, but it must be also a downside, right? I would assume that you have been selling to the US from Canada, right?
Absolutely. It's, we've got products like tractor trailer, 53-foot trailers that are on the road right now that, my fingers are crossed they're already over the border, because if not, that's just money out of everybody's pockets. And
Exactly.
quite frank, we don't pay it. Our customers end up paying it. So it's not money out of my pocket, but it hurts our customers, and we don't want to see that.
Of course.
So it's chaos, and we're gonna try and navigate this. But I remember we went through COVID and similarly chaotic. Unfortunately, this time there's no reason for the chaos. It's completely self-inflicted, but we'll try and manage through this and do the best we can with it.
Good. The same with Europe and most of the Europe, right? He hasn't got to the tariffs yet, but he surely will. I don't doubt that at all. There are other challenges in Europe related to the US, but that's a totally different podcast, and then totally, I mean, kind of related as we were talking, but not so directly. As a startup growing, in addition to the US tariffs, what are the big milestones for you ahead in 2025?
Yeah, for us, it's continuing to refine the technology. So we've got some really, they're cool but simple advancements coming down the pipeline that we think we can cut our cost to grow ahead of lettuce probably by another 10-15% this year, which is good because if you look at like traditional field agriculture, the cost to produce is continuing to go up. So that's a big milestone for us. Uh, the project we just wrapped up in Moldova, we're doing the public release of that. It was a passion project for us, helping with the Ukrainian refugee situation there. We're really excited to share that story with the world, and a few other developments you'll see in kind of late 2025 that are under wraps now. But it's really continuing to drive the industry forward, prove that this technology is real and can make a difference, and building farms and getting people fed.
Good stuff. Thank you, Connor, for this interview, and good luck to you guys. Hope the trucks have crossed the border.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
If you like the show, subscribe and leave a good rating on the podcast platform of your choice. It would mean a world to us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Geraldine Glass, a leader in the field of music as medicine, and I'm excited to share with you my newest release of healing sound, Pentatonic Visions, with Chris Scholler and Electrocast Records. Immerse yourself in ethereal realms where the harmonies of nature, tribal rhythms, and soundscapes blend with the crystal singing bowls. It's out now, streaming on all platforms.
Hey guys, it's Miriam Love here, and I want to share something very special with you. Check out my new release, All In, the Spanish remixes, out now on Electrocast Records. And always remember, be love, share love, all love.
Available now wherever you listen to music.
Electrocast.